Daisy. This is going to be your roadmap to success video. I'm using a bully stick to motivate her to kind of hang out. We'll see if she'll just kind of hang out here. Actually, let's do it the other direction. Make it easier for me to hold on. All right, so we went over some of the basic structural stuff that I go over in a lot of my sessions. She had some rules because her guardian, how about this? There we go. She had some rules because her guardian goes to our counter conditioning class, and so we mentioned kind of a couple things that she could do, but there's some other things that she can do as well. One of the rules would be that the dog's not allowed to be within 7 feet of any human's eating. The human occasionally eats here. So we kind of create a box and we basically go from the second post of that table that we're at to the front of here. So this area is designated no dog zone only when the human's eating. The rest of the time, the dog can come and go as it pleases. We have the video about playing fetch. When we're playing fetch, the dog's not allowed to be in this area between the table and the couch. You just want it for yourself, huh? I'll hold it over here. How about this? Come here. We want you on camera. You're so pretty. There we go. Good girl. All right. That's not the most good camera view, but we'll go with it. All right. So other rules: not being allowed in the kitchen when the human is eating, cooking dinner. Having to sit before we let it in or out of the door. Now, if I go to the door and the dog's on a leash and I say sit and she doesn't sit, I would walk away. Sit down, turn the TV on. Now, we talked a little bit about leash training off camera, and I'm going to kind of go through this. And again, for all these things, I have videos on my website. If you go to doggoneproblems.com, click on dog training tips. On the right side of the page that loads, there'll be a box where you can type in any of these search terms. This one would be, let me see, leashing. Not leasing, but leashing. And so the energy your dog has before it leaves your house is the energy they're going to carry with them on the walk. So if we can teach the dog to be calm before we put on the leash, that can go a long way towards making the walk more enjoyable and helping the dog maintain a balanced state of mind. Now, the first step is to walk to where the leash is. So in this case, it's usually hanging right here. So the guardian, I would have her sitting on the far side of the couch, get up and walk over here. As soon as the dog walks in front of the guardian, she's going to turn and sit back down. She's not going to disagree. She's not going to yell at the dog. We're just the consequence. As soon as you move in front of me where the dog considers itself in the leadership position, I lose interest in taking her for a walk. One other thing before I get into this, when we go for a walk, we have a tendency to think of the destination. We're usually on the clock, and that creates a little extra pressure and some stress, not stress, but frustration with us because the dog's not cooperating. It's important to do this at times where you have no intention of going for a walk. So that way, if the dog doesn't cooperate, it's no skin off your nose because you're not planning on doing it. What I'd like the guardian to do is go through the leashing process 4 times for every 1 time she takes the dog out. Because she lives in an apartment, she takes her out often. So the goal should be maybe try to do it about 10 times today. We're already at 5 o'clock, so we don't have a lot of time, but we're going to practice it until we go out of town tomorrow. So, all right, I'll let you have the rest of that. See if you'll chew it right there. So the first step is to walk to where the leash is, and the dog, as soon as the dog walks in front, we walk away. Second step is just literally reaching for it. We don't even touch it. Just reach like this, and the dog starts getting excited. We pull our arm back and go sit down, and we don't take the dog for a walk. And again, we're doing this time we don't plan on taking the dog for a walk, so it's easier. Once the dog is settled down completely, not most of the way, completely, we get up and repeat the process. Reach for it. And you want to keep on doing it without touching it until you can reach for it like this, and the dog just stays seated. When I get to where the leash is, I omitted. I would say sit. And then as soon as I reach for it, if the dog gets out of a sit, that's when I lose interest and go sit back down. We keep on doing this until eventually I can go like this and the dog stays seated the whole process. Next step is to pick it up, and I usually make the clicking sound or the jingly sound with it, and that'll probably precipitate the dog getting up. As soon as it does, put the leash back and sit back down. I had a guy in Los Angeles, it took 1 hour and 30 minutes to go through this, but by the time we got done, the dog was completely calm, and after that, all the walks were easy, and leashing it up was easier. At first, it's going to be a big burden, but after you've done it a while, the dog's just going to be on autopilot, just going to sit down automatically and be relaxed. But excited is not happy when it comes to dogs, so the dog starts wiggling, gets up, barking, rumbling, any of those things, we lose interest and we sit back down. Eventually we get to the point where we can pick it up and attach it to the dog, and the dog stays calm. We go to the door, tell the dog to sit, it sits, it's completely calm, we go out for the walk. The energy is perfect. It's going to be a lot easier to control the dog. All right, let me see. Because we have some relatives that are going to be meeting, what I'd like to have the guardian do is get a couple of hand towels, and basically, ideal if she could sweat it out a little bit and wipe the sweat on. But basically what we're going to do is take that towel, put it in a Ziploc bag, and be waiting where the guardian's going to show up with Daisy. So what we do is once we go into the house, we're going to pull those towels out. We're gonna put it on the floor. We're gonna take one of these treats and drop it on Daisy. So if the towel's here, I just drop it on the towel. Well, Daisy. When she takes it, she's gonna get a little bit of their scent in her nostrils. And that's gonna create a positive association without the total intensity of the human being actually right there. So what we're going to do is break it down to just one sense, just scent. So we have one towel here and one towel here, one for the sister, one for her child. There we go. And we're going to toss a treat there, let her go get it, and a couple minutes later we toss one here. We're just going to do that back and forth the first night. You're going to be tired when you get there. So, I mean, I'm sure you're going to veg out a little bit, watch a little TV. Do that, and do it in the morning as well. So then, by the time you actually have your sister come over, the dog's already smelled her and created a positive association with these high-value training treats. So make sure you have some of these tricky trainers, something the dog really likes before you leave. Maybe stop at Petco or somewhere on your way out of town. Okay, and so then when we actually meet, what I suggest is that we actually, yes, thank you, sweetheart, is we meet outside. For dogs, inside is a little bit more confined. It causes sometimes more problems. So what we want to do is just be waiting outside on the leash in the yard when your sister gets there. Have her text you when she's a block away. Get outside. Have her walk with you in the car. Get out of the car and walk with you, or just at the end of the block and back. And if you can give the dog some treats, that'd be great. But don't give treats to the dog's lunging, barking, or growling, or any of those things. We want to be just, hey, when she shows up, treats show up. And I've already smelled this woman, and I associate her with treats because of what we did the day before. Let me see. We went through a video on exiting the kennel. This is going to be a really important thing. The guardian should do this consistently to the point where you can come and open the door and walk away. You don't even have to block it anymore. A dog understands I'm not allowed to leave until I hear the command word. Now, we talked about off camera, maybe coming up with a separate command word for the kennel. So maybe we say freedom or break or whatever it is that means just get out of the kennel only. At first, what we're going to do is we're going to stay right here like I showed in the video. And then eventually we're going to get to the point where we can go out of the line of sight. Now, the way we do this is maybe we're a couple feet away, we're waiting, and there's nothing between the dog and freedom but air. Then when I get to like let's say this is a wall and the kennel's here. I can walk back here. When I get to this point, I take one step here. I pause for 1 second out of the dog's line of sight. Then I come back here, go back, and give the dog, and then give the dog the command to come out. So next time I do it, I might be out of here for 2 seconds, then for 4 seconds. Eventually, we're going to get to the point where the dog knows I'm just right here and the kennel's here, but they are practicing waiting, exiting the kennel, and they only exit when they hear the command word. We went and to teach the new command word, at first we say here or come or whatever the word is that will come out. When it takes the treat off of our lips, off of our hand, not off your lips, then you say freedom or whatever the word is that means I can leave the kennel, and this should be a word exclusively for this. Eventually, you'll be able to get home, open the kennel door, go in the kitchen, start making yourself a meal, and just say freedom, and she runs out of the kennel at that point. That's great self-control. Other things you can do is a lot of insecure dogs, or most reactive dogs are insecure. So teaching her some commands, especially ones that require control, can really help. One of them is teaching a dog to balance a treat on their nose. I know it's a trick, but it requires a lot of discipline and control. So if we can do that for her and she can do that, that is another great way for her to feel better about herself. Yes, thank you, sweetheart. As well as to feel more respect for the guardian, because the guardian taught her this, and I have to wait for the guardian to give me permission to have this treat that's literally on my nose. Let me see, what else? I can't read my writing, or your writing. Washing exercise? I don't know what that is, but focus. I'm looking, she wrote, the guardian wrote in 2 places the same thing up here and down here. When she wrote for me, it's clearer, but I can't read it. But when she wrote for herself, I can't read any of her handwriting. She's going to be a doctor. So the focus exercise is something that we did go over that the guardian has been practicing. She was practicing a little bit of an unorthodox way. So we want to make sure that we're doing that. We're waiting for the dog to look at us before we raise the treat. And we're going to keep that treat in the tunnel of vision between my face and the dog's face. So the dog is looking at my face while they're looking at the treat the whole time. I like to use the escalating consequences to disagree with unwanted behaviors. There's videos for this up on doggunproblems.com. Just search for escalating consequences. I like the guardian to start petting with a purpose. So from now on, if she just wants to pet the dog just because the guardian wants to, we're still going to ask the dog to sit. If it's already sitting here, we're going to ask it to come sit here or lay down. The dog's going to have to change its state to earn that affection. Even if it's just the guardian wants to give the affection herself and the dog's not asking for it, I want the dog to see that I have to be respectful when I interact with the human. Let me see, passive training is another thing I'd like the guardian to do. So every time she comes to us, we're going to pet her and say, come. Every time she lays down, we're going to pet her and say, down. Every time she sits, we're going to pet her and say, sit. She's doing these things on her own. We're just waiting for her to do it, just acknowledging and rewarding. And this is the same thing as the first time you get an A and your mom puts your report card in the refrigerator. She's trying to make a big deal out of it, and hopefully you'll continue to do that. Even though the dog knows how to sit or come and lie down, doing it in more challenging situations is going to be more difficult. So the more we do it in the easy situations, the more it can make an impact in the harder situations. We want to also look for ways to incorporate delayed gratification. I talked about it with the fetch, just making sure the dog sits before you throw it. And first you just have to sit or lay down, and after a while you have to sit and wait 3 seconds and 6 seconds and 10 seconds or whatever it is. We're going to gradually link that up so the dog understands the only way I can get my way is by doing it. I can't get it my way. I have to do it the human's way, otherwise the human doesn't want to play with me. Now, one of the things we talked about was a negative consequence, or negative punishment, which is one of the 4 quadrants of operant conditioning. So basically for that involves taking something away from the dog that it likes or desires when it does something inappropriate. In this case, we're going to use the human. So now we don't want to do this if a dog's going to destroy stuff, but if the dog comes starts demand barking at the human, and she immediately gets up and leaves, the dog's demand barking looking for attention. But if now my barking means the human abandons me completely, and where timing is good, remember you have 3 seconds to correct or reward your dog. So as soon as the dog barks the first time, get up and walk out the door. Grab your phone, maybe have a magazine outside so you can sit on the steps. Wait for the dog to stop barking for about 20 or 30 seconds before you come back in. When you come in, don't say anything, don't reward the dog. Just ignore the dog, sit down and do your thing. But if every time the dog barks, does that demand barking, you leave, then eventually the dog will stop doing that. Now for the jumping up, we can do a couple things. We can give our back to the dog. She was just jumping up on the guardian's back. So I would recommend, from what I saw, doing something I don't like doing a lot of, but just bringing the knee up. I try not to do the negative consequences, but you know, if she's jumping up on us, especially when she's overexcited, she's out of control, she's not listening very well. So the idea is you want to catch the dog when it jumps up, so your knee is kind of hitting them in the chest. So you're not kind of shoving them away, just you got to time it right. So they jump up, and your knee comes up, and it kind of bounces them away. Now she did it a couple times off camera, and I think when we were doing the fetch exercise, and the dog started jumping up and not touching you, which is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with the dog touching you if you invite, but right now the dog's making a decision. That's part of the problem. Let me see, what else? The guardian is already adding structure to mealtime, so that's great. I'd like her to continue coming to the counter conditioning class. We're going to skip this weekend because she's going to go on a little bit of a trip. Take the kennel and practice letting her out of the kennel. And practice putting her in the kennel and letting her out of the kennel, even if you're not leaving the apartment. The more we do these things, the more muscle memory we get, the easier it is for the dog to do that. Daisy, I have one more treat for you. Can you come over here and get the treat? There we go. All right, this is Daisy's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it. Focus.